There's a lot of ways you can get around in Panama. You can take rideshare, you can take a taxi, you can take the bus. That's very affordable. Also, I found out toward the end of my trip that they do have local trains too. I didn't know. I didn't really see a lot of trains moving. I saw buses every day, but trains, I didn't see those. I guess they're up in the air on the tracks and stuff like that. I just didn't really hear it and see it. It just totally went over my head. So, but they do have local trains there. I don't know how it works. If you know how it works, been to Panama, let me know in the comments. But yeah, they do have trains you can take. I didn't find out about that they had local trains like for the public until my last day there, when my rideshare, my Uber driver, he told me that, hey, you know, I could have taken the train there. The train goes straight to the airport from where I was from, and it would have got me there for like, 50 cents, he said, instead of the $15 that I was paying him for the Uber. So I found this out at the last minute, and it was good that he filled me in on that, because a lot of people don't fill foreigners in on that. And my Airbnb owner didn't even tell me about that. So he was surprised and a little bothered that my Airbnb owner didn't at least fill me in on that so I could know the options. So he was nice enough to let me know, hey, could have paid 50 cents, got to the airport in no time instead of paying me the $15. But hey, I was in the ride then. I wasn't about to get out and risk trying to catch a bus there, inexperienced, but I appreciated him telling me that. And that's something that you should be aware of too. They have good public transportation, buses, trains, and everything, so you can save a lot of money. And a lot of them have direct routes to major destinations like malls and even the airport. So definitely check that out. But the main way that I got around when I was there, I used Uber. Now, I don't usually use Uber on my travels, especially to Latin America. I usually use the local apps. Like in Latin America, I usually use like maybe Cabify or Didi or something like that as my main go-to. The reason I don't use Uber as much is that it's not as affordable as some of the local apps. Also, some of the local apps, I just like the service better and the deals better. And also I had some problems with Uber in the past where they cancel my account unfairly and this all type of stuff. Also, Uber, a lot of places, Uber is considered banned or illegal in some countries, so it's not really highly present in some countries. And also another thing about Uber, why I really don't use it on my travels in Latin America, is that a lot of people don't know, especially like if you visit in places like Colombia somewhere, a lot of people don't know is that when you rent an Uber, you're not just renting the car, you're not just getting a ride share. There's more red tape that comes with it. You're also renting that car technically and legally, and you're renting that driver technically and legally. So you're renting a car and you're renting a driver. You're not just getting a ride share. So that's the difference. So that means if anything goes wrong, you are held fully or at least partially responsible for any accidents or any mishaps like that. So it's more legalities and red tape that come along with that. And a lot of tourists miss that notice because oftentimes it comes up maybe in Spanish, or a lot of people don't read all the terms and services and just press go. So, yeah. But to my knowledge, Uber is widely accepted in Panama, and that's what I used. And that's the main go-to for rideshare apps. All the other apps that I usually use, like Didi and stuff like that, they were still active, but well, at least Didi was. But it wasn't, I noticed it wasn't as reliable. Wasn't as many drivers responding, things like that. So yeah, they do have a lot of taxis, especially in the tourist area. But on my travels, if you've been following my channel, The Rich Experiences, I don't recommend flagging random taxis, taking random taxis. I don't like them. They're not as safe. You can't track them. Can't track the driver. At least with the ride share, you have a way whereby you can track the driver, their name, who they are, their reputation, and it's trackable. But just getting random taxis off the street, hailing them, just not my style. And I don't recommend it for you either. But the Uber experience was pretty reliable to me overall. And that's that. So make sure you have the Uber app downloaded. One problem I did run into Uber was that they will take you, Uber and a lot of the rideshare apps there. I found out that depending on what part of the city you're living in or whatever, like I got one time I experimented with getting an Airbnb out in Better Cruz, which is I guess a beach town outside, on the outskirts of Panama. And they dropped me off there, no problem. But once I was there and I was trying to call a ride share, the Uber, to get me to take me somewhere else, I found out that they don't pick up there. So they dropped me off there, but then they I guess they wipe their hands and you find out later, oh, they don't pick up there. So I ran into those problems. Unfortunately, I'm an experienced traveler and I was able to walk around a little bit, and I was able to then have another rideshare app like Didi kick in, so I'll be able to pick it up from the other outskirt spot to take me back into the city. So I was able to make it work, but that's because I'm an experienced traveler. I know how to move and stuff like that, so I was able to get by. But for somebody who's not experienced and don't know, just realize that you can be dropped off in a certain area with your Uber or other rideshare, but maybe they don't pick up in that area and they don't tell you that. So that's something you need to be aware of. So that was a surprise to me. Now, also, as far as other methods of transportation, they do have buses, as I mentioned. Now, I found that their buses, one of the locals told me, and I confirmed that the bus is only like 25 cents a day, and you can get around to a lot of the major spots, the tourist spots, the malls, and things like that. Now, I didn't get to ride any of the local buses. I just stuck with the ride shares and things, but I was tempted to ride it, but I didn't get to ride any of the buses. But I saw them passing frequently. They look very reliable. A lot of the locals use it, and if you have a chance to ride the public buses, hey, let me know how it went.